Yes, thank you to all our first responders. We recognize a new first responder that you nominated in a little over an hour from right now, 9:55. A New Jersey police officer recovering from a gunshot injury he received in the line of duty. Right now, I want to say thank you to the officer sitting in front of me, NYPD Police Commissioner James O'Neill. Thank you for all you do.
Good morning, Kelly. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, as you serve and protect our listeners, our friends, our family, many of whom are police officers and first responders. So thank you so much. It's very perfect you're in here for First Responder Friday. You know, I do a feature on my show called All the Feels. Good news stories, right? And it seems like there have been a lot of stories this summer about NYPD cops coming to the rescue in non-traditional ways, different ways, like the two officers who paid for the groceries of the homeless woman, or the really hungry and homeless at the Whole
Union
Foods.
Square.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I feel like there is a really disturbing number of police officers having to deliver babies out of cars. I mean, what is that about? You guys are doing such good stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of good work being done by the men and women of the NYPD. I think we just had a bridge rescue the other day. The people from emergency service climbed up onto the bridge and talked somebody down. You know, this is the work that you don't really hear about each and every day. You don't always hear the positive stories about the great work the men and women of the NYPD do, and how this city's been transformed, and who it's been transformed by, and it's by the hard work of the men and women of the NYPD. You go back 30 years in 1990, when there were 2,245 homicides. Last year there were 295.
Crazy.
I know it is amazing. In 17 there were 292, and that doesn't happen by magic. There's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work. Fortunately, a lot of police officers injured in the line of duty, a lot of police officers killed in the line of duty. New Yorkers do appreciate that, and I was lucky enough to be a precinct commander for a little over 6 years, and I see that. You might not always hear that, but I know New Yorkers appreciate the NYPD.
Well, I know our listeners do, our country people. I mean, we feel it big time. I was hanging out with a bunch of your people on July 4th for the Macy's fireworks show. Detective Pagan with Counterterrorism is my buddy, and he was saying how much he appreciated First Responder Friday, because he says the firemen get all the love. So here's spread the love to NYPD.
Everybody loves a firefighter.
That's right.
Dan Nigro, the commissioner of the FDNY, is a fantastic human being. I love that guy.
Sunday is the start of National Suicide Prevention Week. And Sunday morning here on New York's Country 94.7, we're hosting a really special program that you're a part of, Commissioner, called I'm Listening. You're going to comment on that because no one understands the impact of suicide more than you. Your department has been so hard hit by that this year. 8 active duty officers, 10 total officers. I think I read somewhere in June that it was as close to bringing you to your knees as you've ever been.
Yeah, it's we had 2 before June, and then starting in June, a friend of mine, Chief Steve Silks, who was due to retire in July, ended up killing himself. And then after that, it was 7 more. 5 more. It's really difficult to talk about, but it's something that you look at what cops do each and every day, how they take care of everybody else, and there's so many times that we don't take care of each other and we don't take care of ourselves, and that's what we had to take a look at after this, to make sure that the services are available both within the department and outside the department, and we're getting fantastic support from people all across the country. Actually, internationally, we're getting a lot of support. We have a mental health center, a major medical university that's starting very shortly. We'll be able to call, be able to FaceTime, be able to get be able to just come in and talk within 24 hours and anonymously and at no cost. This is what we do. It's the biggest issue here is the stigma of coming forward. And it's a sign of strength to come forward. It's not a sign of weakness. And that's the message that we have to get out to our police officers. We're doing command level training right now. We just finished up all the executive level training. We're going to have peer-to-peer counselors in each and every command throughout the city, so people feel comfortable. The people that trust the members of the department, that if they have an issue, that they're going to come forward. If they're in crisis, somebody's going to look out for them and get them the help that they need. This is it's devastating. The last police officers that killed himself, I was home, I got a phone call, and it almost knocked me down. that it happened again. And this is something we can never stop concentrating on, never stop thinking about.
NYPD Commissioner James O'Neill talking about stuff that is actually really hard to talk about. As a mom of 3 young adults, I'd be lying if it hasn't been an issue in our home. And there is something about talking about it that seems like, oh, I failed, or there's, that you're not, that you don't want to reveal weakness or vulnerability. But that's how you lose people.
Yeah, there are so many people I know that have had mental health challenges, and they tell me they'd rather have cancer because people understand that, and people don't understand mental health challenges.
So true.
So that's we have to do a better job as a country, as a city, and we certainly have to do a better job as a police department to take care of the people that keep the city safe.
Well, and keep talking about it like we're doing now.
Yeah.
The anniversary of 9/11 is coming up next Wednesday. A lot of painful memories. You were here that day. For so many people in this tri-state, that was the day that neighbors and friends and family didn't come home. But you know what a lot of people don't talk about, Commissioner, is that people are still dying from 9/11. You lost 20 years later. You are still losing people. NYPD lost 23 officers that day, 220 since then. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is. And I'm sure the national story everybody was paying attention to was Detective Lou Alvarez when he passed away, and how the courage he displayed by going down and speaking to Congress and talking about how important it was to get that bill passed, and it was, and we appreciate that. But we have to continue to take care of the people that responded that day. There was no hesitation. Nobody thought about not going, and people continue to suffer, and families continue to suffer. And this one part of the job I have as police commissioner is that I do spend a lot of time with line of duty families. And that's a pain that never stops. People say that time heals all wounds. These are wounds that don't ever get healed.
That's so true.
Yeah, it is. It's tough, but we have to make sure we support those families too.
Lots of headlines about homicides being down in New York City, police commissioner. But the bigger news is that, as you mentioned, overall crime in 2018 was way down. Arrests were down. You were tasked with finding that balance. How's it looking for 2019, and what challenges do you still have?
So 2019, we just had a press conference the other day. We're down in overall crime again. We're down about 2,300 crimes, which is that's 2,300 less victims. We're down, as of yesterday morning, we're down 9 homicides, but we are up 36 shootings. And it's in specific areas around the city. And we periodically have shooting picks up a little bit, and we make sure that we send the resources in there. We redeploy. We work the prosecutor's office to make sure that we had a problem in Manhattan North. We had a problem in the 7-9 and the 7-7. We took care of that. Now the 7-3, which is Brownsville, and 7-5 East New York, we're having some issues out there. In Southeast Queens, we're having some issues too, the 103, the 113, and the 105. And we're working with the precinct commanders, we're working with the borough commanders, the detective bureau, to make sure that they have the resources that they need to address. And most of it is gang and crew issues, gang and crew violence. So it's important that as it pops up that we make sure that we get out there and do the job that we get paid to do, and that's to keep people safe.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. NYPD Commissioner James O'Neill, you love your country, too.
I sure do.
You want to tell me what your favorite artists are? He was just telling me.
Sure. Eric Church, and
Yes.
That's because of my son, Danny. Chris Stapleton, I think I picked that one up on my own. And then I'm a big fan of Keith Urban also.
Very, very nice. Well, we'll have to get some of that on for you.
All right. Thanks,
okay?
Kelly. Thanks for having me.
Join New York's Country 94.7 from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. this Sunday for I'm Listening, an in-depth discussion on mental health and suicide prevention. Let's keep the conversation going about mental health. And thank you so much for coming in, NYPD Police Commissioner James O'Neill, for First Responder Friday.